Call me Babe Ruth. I'm calling my shot. These are my guys for 2024.
You are Locked On Gators, your daily podcast on the Florida Gators. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hello and welcome back to another episode of Locked On Gators, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. Thanks for making Locked On Gators your first listen of the day. Every day we are available daily and free wherever you listen to the podcast and on YouTube. Happy Wednesday. I'm Brandon Olsen. Find me on Twitter at WNS_Brandon. We might be going live at some point today because I believe they're supposed to release all of the ratings for the Florida Gators or all the ratings just for college football 25. We might go live talk about the Florida Gators. I will also say, please do subscribe to Whole Line Sports, WHOLENINE Sports. Link is in the description down below. We are going to be doing a Florida Gators Dynasty when the game comes out next week. I'm just saying. Today's episode is brought to you by FanDuel. Make every moment more as playoffs wind down. Sports stop sporting like we want them to. We almost got the soccer tournaments are almost done here. Wimbledon's almost done here. But this summer, FanDuel's hooking up all customers with a boost or a bonus daily. That's right. There's something for everyone every day all summer long. Visit FanDuel.com/lockedon to get started. And I am going to say this. There are obviously more than just 3 guys. And I'm like, yep, those are my guys. But I figured these would be aside from the obvious ones. And these are the ones that, I feel like I've been talking about. I feel like I've been pounding the table for. And I wanted to do that more appropriately. So these are my guys for the 2024 season. First off is Hayden Hansen. Unsurprisingly, the guy that's been on my show every week during the season for the past 2 seasons. Unsurprisingly, he's one of my guys. Almost 6'7", pretty big, 272 pounds. Pretty big, right? That guy, this 6'7", 272. Clocked in this spring on the GPS track, clocked 20.3 miles per hour. That's really freaking fast. Like, just have someone, if you want to try it, just have someone drive 20 miles per hour down the block if you have like an empty street or a generally quiet street. I've run 20 miles per hour for, I don't know, even just like 5 seconds, right? You try to get a full sprint and see how bad you get beat, because that's how fast he's moving at 6'7", 272 pounds. It's a big dude, right? And it's also important, like, best blocking tight end on the team by a large margin. That's not a knock on anybody, okay? That is a testament to his blocking ability. He's one of the best blockers on the team in general. Just in general. Just you look at Hayden's film, one of the best blockers on the team. Spent a lot of snaps blocking last year, just as a run blocker and a pass protection. He had the 6th most blocking snaps on the entire team last year. He's at, after the 5 starting offensive linemen, he's right there. And don't forget, Florida had Kingsley Aguakin start some games and rotate, and Cameron Waits rotated in. Lindell Hudson rotated in. Najee Harris rotated in, and Hayden Hansen had the 6th most blocking snaps on the entire team. He was out there in pass protection on 73 snaps. Okay? He allowed 3 pressures the entire time. All those offensive linemen that I said were out there pass blocking less than him allowed more pressures on less snaps. Arlis Boardingham, another tight end, pass blocking 31 times, allowed 5 pressures. Yeah, more than twice the pass blocking reps, half the pressures, or I guess 60% of the pressures, because 5. So, but yeah, Hayden's one of the best blocking tight ends in the entire country. Genuinely, I understand that he is never going to be a super productive pass catcher, but hey, we give flowers here, right? And we love the tight end position here. Yeah, I'm gonna say Hayden's one of my guys here, and I've been saying, like, I think that's one of the things too. I'm not even saying make this guy your leading receiver. No, I'm very honest. If you're not part of the insider program, which if you want to be part of it, links in the description below. It's Locked On Gators on joinceltics.com/LockedOnGators if you want to join it, just typing in the address. But we did scouting reports for a lot of players during the spring game. And even in Hayden's, I was like, look, I understand he's limited. He is. I look at him as like a Mercedes Lewis type, which if you're a Jags fan, you recognize that, right? Giant blocker, pummeler. One of his first snaps of his career was against Utah because first half of the Utah game didn't play. Second half of the Utah game started. Like he took over the role there for Dante Sanders and he never gave it up. One of his first plays, he put Lander Barton in the ground. Like, this is a damn good football player. Like, this is a damn good tight end. He does not play the glamorous spot at all. But, I mean, come on. And again, I'm not saying give him 50 targets in a season. I'm not saying that. I'm not saying give him 4.5 targets a game. I get that. 50 targets on the season would have been the third most targets on the team last year. However, he's almost 6'7". He's 272 pounds. He runs 20.3 miles per hour. He used to play basketball. Do you get what I'm saying? I'm just give him some shots. We saw him against Florida State. Massive catch. He had some of Florida's longest catches last year. He did. He had a 40-yard catch last year. I think it was like a 30-yard catch and then a 35. Like it was wild. He had in just straight weeks, 24 yards against LSU was his longest career catch. And then the next week against Missouri, he had 38 yards. Like he had those kinds of long catches. And then we saw him with 25 yards against Florida State. Up the sideline was that like perfect throw by Max Brown. But one of my guys, Hayden Hansen, I just want to see him get the ball in the red zone, move the sticks a little bit, let him run up the seam. You do those three things, I'm cool with it. Genuinely, I'm not saying, I don't think you should be putting him on a lot of out routes and wheels and stuff like that, like where he's got to be a little bit more nimble. I don't think he's a very nimble athlete. However, you get that size running straight at a safety and at that speed, good luck, safety. You get him in the red zone, like I said, he used to play basketball. I didn't say that for no reason. I said that for a very specific reason. Get him in the red zone, throw that thing up, and let anybody try to match it. Like imagine if he's lined up against a linebacker. Linebackers nowadays are like 6'2", 230, 240, maybe. Edges are 245, 255 at this point. You think they're going to battle him for like box out position? DB, the guys that are generally 5'11 to 6'2, think they're going to beat him for a box out? Just throw that thing up. That's what I'm saying. I'm saying that there are ways to use him where it's not like, okay, he's a focal point of the offense. He's a fantastic blocker. He should be blocking. He's great in pass protection. He should be in pass protection. Like I'm saying he should be a receiver at some point too, but like he's a great pass protector. He had such like Graham Mertz last year gets hit a hell of a lot more if it's not for Hayden. Okay? Genuinely. Saved him quite a few whoopings. So throw it up to him in the red zone. Let him run up the seam. Get him to just move the chains a bit. Like not even in the red zone. If it's, I don't know, that Kentucky play, whatever the down marker was, when they threw it up to Arlis Boardingham, and throw it up to Hayden. He's 6'7". Just throw that up to him. That's all I'm saying. I'm not saying he's better than Arlis. They're completely different positions. It's just hard, because, they're both tight end, but one plays one role, one plays another. It's completely hard to say, and I'm not going to say that anyone is better than anyone, considering how different the responsibilities are, right? It's as simple as that. Like, it's arguing a corner to a safety, basically. So they're playing different spots here, even though, DB is the general group. They're playing different spots, and I think that's important to acknowledge. Speaking of DB, if you're watching this on YouTube, you see the names on the side. That side. Sorry, I'm still trying to get the mirrored thing down. But we're heading to defense for the rest of the show. I love sports. I love betting on sports, and I love them so much that I never want them to stop. Unfortunately, Ben Shelton got bounced from Wimbledon on Saturday or Sunday. It was a rough one. It was a rough one to watch. Yannick Skinner, I think it's pronounced. I'm not going to pretend that I was paying attention to the pronunciation, but he got bounced. I was just riding the Ben Shelton money line throughout. But this summer, FanDuel is hooking up all customers with a boost or bonus daily. That's right. There's something for everyone every day, all summer long. So head over to FanDuel.com, start making the most out of your summer. FanDuel is an official sports betting partner of Major League Baseball. By the way, Dinger Tuesday yesterday. Hell of a day. If you're missing Tuesdays, that's on you. Thanks again for making Locked On Gators your first listen of the day every day. We are available daily and free wherever you listen to the podcast and on YouTube. And like I said, we're going to defense for the rest of the show here. And I have to tell you, Sharif Denson, another one where when he was coming out of Bartram jail, which I don't generally like, I think that's one thing with recruits. I think it's very rare for me to watch a recruit's film and just go, one of my guys. I do. I think it's very. I think if I'm not like looking at the 2024 cycle, there was what Fletcher Westfall, KD Daniels, Gregory Smith, and that's it. Really, like, I'm a big fan of Teddy Foster, but I'm big fan of what he can become because he was so raw. But 3 guys in a class of 20 that I'm like, yeah, that's my guy. It's rare for me to do that for a high school recruit. I did that for Sharif Denson. Like Sharif Denson, I was like, I'm all the way in on him. Just once I watched the high school film, I was all the way in. It was Sharif Denson. Rod Kearney was another one. And from that 2023 class, that's kind of it, really. Like Najee Harris, I liked but didn't love. But yeah, those 2 were the guys. And Jakeem Jackson was another one where I was like, I love what he can become, but needs work. So in the past 2 years, there's been 5 guys where I watched their high school film and I go, that's my guy, or 5 Gator commits where I watch them and I say, that's my guy. Sharif Denson's one of them. I am a huge fan of his skill set, and I think he helps open up the scheme a lot. Genuinely. We talked about this again. We've talked about this quite a lot recently of what was wrong with the defensive scheme last year, what can help open it up this year. And part of it was linebackers being bad in coverage. I do genuinely think the linebackers being bad in coverage hurt the scheme in just totality, just because you couldn't do certain things, because that would mean that those linebackers in coverage. Part of it is that Jaden Hill at slot, I think was a bad blitzer. I don't think he was very effective with it. And I think that Sharif Denson can be. I mean, we've seen Sharif Denson do it very little bit, but it's interesting. I am genuinely just very intrigued to see Sharif Denson as a blitzer this fall, because we saw it happen very infrequent. I think he rushed 2 times last year, picked up 2 pressures, blitzed last year twice, picked up pressures on both of them. Then in the spring game, you saw him work a little bit as a blitzer. If I'm not mistaken, there were a couple times where he blitzed and it ended up being a run, so it wasn't even anything against the like we couldn't see him blitz the quarterback, which is what I want to see him do. But I'm very intrigued to see it, and I hope that he does it. And I said, Ron Roberts coming over from Auburn. Ron Roberts has just throughout his career blitzed the nickel a lot. He's blitzed that slot, that star spot, whatever you want to call them. He's blitzed them a lot. I'm very interested to see if Austin Armstrong this year, with better coverage linebackers and a better blitzer at slot, if we see that a bit more, because Jaden Hill just didn't do it last year. Like he was bad at it, but they just didn't do it anyway. So it's like, well, yeah, he was rough at it, but he also wasn't given opportunities. Jaden Hill starting a nickel blitz 20 times the entire season. 1.25 times per game, right? Stuff like that. Like, that's not that impactful, is it? But Sharif Denson, I think, will be doing it more, partially because of his skill set being better suited to it, partially because of Ron Roberts coming in, partially because of better coverage linebackers. A lot of things are going to go into this, but I'm excited to see how Sharif does it. And I mean, you watched just the spring game. Like let's just go with the spring game, what we've seen since Ron Roberts came in, all the coaching staff changes. And I say Ron Roberts again because he is going to have a hand in the scheme. I know he's a linebackers coach. He's going to have a hand in the scheme. But you watch Sharif Denson lined up at star. He lined up at deep safety. He lined up at outside cornerback. We saw him line up everywhere throughout the spring game. Everywhere in the secondary, he lined up. because there's deep safety and then there's like the box safety, but that's kind of similar to where Star lines up anyway. So we saw him line up everywhere that he can. Hell of a spring game too. We saw him pick off Graham Mertz on a wild play. That was just, I understand. Chimere DK tripped and Sharif Denson made the play. Sharif Denson also tripped and Sharif Denson came up and made the play. You look at, whenever the offense would go in motion, he's one of the first guys to move with the motion to where he's supposed to be moving. I genuinely just think he's got a wildly high ceiling. I think Sharif Denson has a very high ceiling. I think that even his floor is pretty high. And I've no problem just going, hey, if I'm wrong, I'm wrong. But the kid's film is freaking good. And again, we're small sample size. I get it. But his film is freaking good. Like, you got to be aware that that's why I'm pounding the table for Sharif Denson. I'm not just picking guys. I'm saying this is a kid who his high school film, loved it. His limited 2023 film, loved it. Again, I'm not saying he's perfect. I'm not saying he's going to win the Jim Thorpe Award right now. I'm not saying he's even Chauncey. Chauncey didn't win the Jim Thorpe Award, but he was a damn good nickel corner. But I am saying this is a kid that I'm looking at. I'm like, all right, like, if you hit your stride at some point this season, you can be freaking good. And got him for at least one more season after this. It's exciting. I'm not gonna lie. It's really exciting for me. And like I've said, like when I played semi-pro. I played DB, corner specifically. I played safety. I tried to play slot. I couldn't do it. If you could do it at a high level, that is impressive. And so he's got great film at what I think is the most difficult position to play on defense. I think it's maybe the second most difficult position in the entire sport. He's got good film at it. I'm excited to see what he can become and genuinely just what we end up getting from him in 2024. To wrap up today's episode of Locked On Gators, we got one more for you. We're sticking on the defensive side of the ball. It is a transfer portal kid from this year. Again, if you're watching, you saw the name already. If you're listening, it's Joey Slackman, which I don't think should be surprising at all. He hit the portal and I said, hey, I want you to go get him. Big fan of what he can become. Right? Big fan of it. Big fan of when he came in. And he's powerful as hell. And that's one of the important things too. Joey Slackman's got some power. Like, again, I think you could watch Penn and see him dominate the Ivy League and you can go, yeah, well, it's Penn. And that's a fair doubt. Like that was even a thing when I said go get him. I think that what he puts on film is pretty good. But again, you got to go, yeah, it's Penn. That's one of the reasons he's coming to Florida. Is that, yeah, he played the Ivy Leagues. Yeah, he dominated at the Ivy League level. However, that's the Ivy League level. That's not the NFL. It's not the SEC. Right? You come to the SEC to show NFL teams what you can do. That's what Joey Slackman is doing. He's coming to the SEC. He's playing for the Florida Gators to show NFL teams what he can do. And so when we go, yeah, you look at the Penn film and he's got a lot of power, but he's playing in the Ivy Leagues. It's like, yeah, sure, fine. Go to the spring game. That's the only SEC film we have for him, right? As in actually playing SEC starters for the entire game. As in he was facing them. But you watch that and you go, damn, powerful. Just absolute power there. And I don't mean that he's just mushing offensive linemen back into the pocket. I mean, you watch when he's getting double teamed. He wins some of the double teams. Here's the thing, though. I don't really remember him losing any. And by that, I mean, even when they double teamed him, I think he did a really good job of just holding his ground and just eating the blocks. Like you're not getting moved, you're not moving people. And I think if you're a defensive lineman and you're being double teamed against the run and you force a stalemate, I consider that, again, you're not winning the rep, but I don't consider that a loss at all. You're getting double teamed and you're holding your ground. It's impressive. So Joey Slackman, he's listed as 6'3.5", 304 pounds prior to the spring. We'll see what he measures in at this time. But just a ton of power. Just genuinely, just a ton, like a really stout football player. He's just got a lot of power in his game. And again, he sheds some of the double teams sometimes, but just consistently holding his ground, not losing, not getting pushed back. That helps linebackers come up and make plays. And that is something that Florida did not have last year consistently enough at the 3-tech spot. That big end, whatever you want to call it, that 3-tech didn't have enough of it. Like Cam Jackson, 8 double teams held him fine. Joey Slackman will be able to do that as well. So if you play a run-heavy team and they're trying to double team there, you can have Joey Slackman and Cam Jackson on the field right next to each other and just eat blocks like animals and just let your linebackers come up and make plays. And I don't think Joey Slackman's going to be – I don't think he's going to be a great pass rusher at this SEC level right now. Just he might be. I just don't think he's going to be yet. But I will say the one thing with him that impressed me during the spring game, and I love seeing during the spring game because I think it's pretty rare to see just at the college level, is having a pass rush toolbox. He needs to learn how to use it better. And I know Florida Gators fans, you hate the toolbox, tool shed things. I don't care. Pass rush toolbox is something that is what we call it in football. So his pass rush toolbox genuinely having multiple tools in it. Like Princely Monmielen had a killer spin move. That was his thing. Dante Fowler, just first step blowing by everybody, getting underneath them. Like that bend, right? What I mean when you watch Joey Slackman, even, and this is just from the spring game, what he put on film, you see a 2-hand swipe, you see a bull rush, you see a rip, and you see an inside spin move. Just having those 4 tools is good enough there because odds are there's going to be one move that's going to get the best of a guy multiple times. I do think that Joey Slackman needs to work on developing those moves more and further and maybe even stringing them together. But for the most part, you look at what Joey Slackman has in the toolbox and you go, all right, like that's an impressive tool set where I think even NFL teams are going to look at it and say, hey, we'll take a swing on this guy. We'll try to develop those moves that he already knows how to do. Because it's really not as simple, I think, as just going, I'm just going to do this move. I think it's going to be effective. You need to work on the actual timing and all the technical aspects of doing the moves. I think Joey Slackman needs to work better on those, but he's clearly got at least the basics of those moves. I'm just saying, that could be fun. That could be fun. I would like to see him break it out during games more frequently. We'll see if it is. And look, also I acknowledge Joey Slackman might not start this year. That's fine. I said the same thing when he transferred here initially. I said, when you bring in Joey Slackman, because the thing is, I think he's really good. But again, his film is from the Ivy Leagues. It's not against SEC teams. So maybe he's just stronger than them. Maybe he's just faster than them. Like that's always the thing with these portal kids is when they're coming from smaller schools is maybe they're just better than those kids. Even high school, I say it. I go, yeah. You look for the traits like with offensive linemen. I go, yeah, a lot of them just overpower people. But you take that raw power and you develop people. If they're just a technical mess but just overpower people, you take that power, you develop people. You look for the things that you can't teach, like the nasty streak. You can't teach someone to want to get gritty. That's the thing you just got to have in you. Simple as that. I think with Joey Slackman, that's one thing where I think he's pretty damn good, but he's doing it against the Ivy League. I need to see you do it against people who are more technically refined, more technically sound, more athletic than the guys you just played against. See, I do it here. So the big selling point there is that when you bring in Joey Slackman, you've either brought him in as a starter, which bumps your last year starter, Caleb Banks, to the bench. And Caleb Banks showed some pretty good flashes last year, which was his first year of genuine deep playing time. Showed some good flashes. Spring game looked pretty good for him. So you've either brought in a guy that's better than that and moves Caleb Banks to the bench. And I believe Caleb Banks is SEC starter quality right now. Or you bring in a guy that is SEC starter quality, or you bring in a guy that's still starter quality, but he's going to be your backup to Caleb Banks now. Like that's your win-win. You've got 2 starter quality players at that big end spot. One of them is going to be starting. One of them is going to be a backup, obviously. You got 2 starter quality players. It's a huge ad there. Loved it. Thanks for making Locked On Gators your first listen of the day. Every day we are available daily and free, wherever you listen to the podcast and on YouTube. We'll be back tomorrow. Talk more Florida Gators football. For Locked On Gators, I'm Brandon Olsen. Don't forget to follow me on Twitter at WNS_Brandon. Find all my written work with Giants Country and NFL 33, and I'll see you all next time.